Hello, everyone. This is MC Sharrock, the first female MC of hip hop culture, and you are now rocking with Kendra on Crossover TV. Keep it locked. We have more to come. I'm Sharrock, and I can't be stopped.
Yo, it's your boy Chuck Rock, Hip Hop Alliance, hanging out. Beautiful Kendra from the Hip Hop Alliance. Of course, we are here at SUNY Old Westbury, representing and celebrating the culture of hip hop, and all the greats are here, man. Grandmaster Caz and the King of Hip Hop, Curtis Blow, Kumo D, BLB from the Fearless Four, both alumni of Old Westbury, and we're just glad to be here and to show the diversity of hip hop on an incredible campus in New York City, like the birthplace of hip hop.
What's the website, Cho, for the Hip Hop Alliance?
HipHopAlliance.org.
Yes.
Make sure you join. It's free to join. All right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to say my name is Curtis Blow, and I am the creator and founder and executive director of the Hip Hop Alliance. And we are out there on a mission trying to secure and protect fair wages and fair royalties and strong health and retirement benefits for all of the hip hop and R&B ecosystem. All right, it's a God-centered company, and so it's HipHopAlliance.org. Join us. It's free, all right? And I'll hook you up. And these are the breaks. Bring it up, bring it up, bring it up.
Curtis Blow, CrossoverTV. Hey, yours truly, Kendra here. We're so live all over the world. www.bronxnet.org. Tell a friend to tell another friend. Today's a phenomenal show. We keep them coming. We just keep them coming, everybody. I hope you guys had a great weekend. And we are back here just to say we love you all so much. As we go through our daily struggles, we just want you to know that we're feeling your struggles. I mean, this has been some week for me. So, you know, I think about what we all go through. And if I don't acknowledge it every time I come to the air, then that's a problem for me. So I just want to say thank you for always joining us. We always have a lot of information. Where's your paper and your pen? Look, see? Paper and pen. All right, so I'm going to allow you a few seconds to go get that paper and pen. All right, but we're in the building, and I'm telling you, he's all dapper today, and he came ready, and he's got a story to tell. And I wanna let my guest tell his story. And I still have my flippies on, yeah. Because, you know, we had a fire drill today. I'm a bust a secret. In studio, getting ready for the show, we had to leave the building quickly for a fire drill. But my guest is in the building. He's a very good friend of mine. When you see a guest here more than once or twice, and I think this is his third time here, and he's been to supportive housing, he's helped me in the food drive. My mission is to make sure that there is no food insecurity. And we start a block at a time, and I took my block. You see right there? There he goes. You saw that photo of Jose at the food drive, right? That was the first photo. See, there you go. That's Jose. He's on the phone working while we at the food drive, and he's helping me work. And look at all that food. You know, he gave out a lot. We gave out food that day. That's Isaiah. And this is all the food. And you guys keep Isaiah in prayer. He's my son. He's still, like, not doing good. But, you know, through God's grace, all things are possible. And if you're going through the same thing out there, everybody, any health disparities or anything that's going on, I just want you to know, thank you for always checking in right here. Always check in. Just do that check-in, because you're not going through it alone. I'll let you know the secret. I'll bust a secret any day right here. I'll tell you my personal. I'll tell you what's going on with somebody else. You know, we've had, you know, some folks that have been through some serious things, passing on the, you know, I don't want to say in which area, but someone passed this week that I don't want to share it today, but, you know, we got a lot going on, you know. And I just got off the phone with Curtis Blow, and, you know, we talk about our community, you know. So that's the things that are, you know, that are going on. Now, I want you to know that MC Sharrock Day is coming up. She actually did the show with her daughter Tia last week, and we're going to have some amazing people out there at the Gun Hill Park on June 6th, all right? 2 to 7 p.m. So you want to be out there. If you're not there, you're nowhere. Sha, honey, listen, we got this, all right? Every year is phenomenal. It keeps growing. I was there from day one, and it just continues to grow. And soon, I always tell Shah, I say, Shah, it's going to be too big for the park. Where we going next? Yankee Stadium? I'm thinking Yankee Stadium. So just come on out there. Every celebrity that you can think about. Curtis Blow will be out there. And so many others, all right, everybody? So just lock your dials. We're not done yet. I want to bring Jose in. And Jose, thank you for being so supportive to me. And I definitely want to be supportive to you all at RAPP.
Well, I'm happy to be here again.
Yeah, see? Now, Jose didn't know I had that little clip hiding behind the scenes, but when you call on somebody and they come and support you, you're never going to forget it. So when you call on me, I won't forget it. You know, I'll be there for you. I would like to come out to Albany, but it's been so difficult with my son, and you know the situation of him in and out of the hospital. And so that's been a little tedious, but I try to at least make it. I feel like this is down the block. If I can get here and get you guys here, I'm still working for you guys. You know, I'm working for the community. I'm working for you guys because that's why I come to work. I don't come to work I don't chill. I'm coming to work because I am working. We have to have our feet on the ground, boots on the ground. Like, that's what we need to be doing. And as a community, we see what's happening, and it's only getting worse and worse. So we need, I feel as though we should come together as organizations and do a little bit more. You know, I know it's tiring, you know, it's tedious, you know, for some people, you know, tedious, right? So I get it, but we're going to have to do it. You know, our youth need us. When you came out, you had the opportunity to meet some of our youth. And we talked about this. Tell the folks who you are, and then I'm going to address you. I'm going to address you as Hamza after that.
Okay.
Tell the folks who you are and the name of your organization.
Well, I'm Jose Hamza Saldana, the executive director of RAPP, the Release Aging People in Prison, criminal justice organizations, a community organizing and advocacy organization. We advocate for legislative changes to the criminal legal system. And essentially, we are trying to dismantle this entire system. It's a racist system. It's built on the legacy of racism, and it should no longer exist. So that's our ultimate goal.
Thank you so much. And let's talk about make sure you give the acronyms. Like,
RAPP.
Okay.
It's RAPP.
All right. I want to do this. Now I want to refer to you as Hamza. Can I do that?
Sure.
You're Hamza first, okay?
Right.
Okay. And then we're going to go to Jose, okay? All right. I don't know if I got this right. Let me see. Let me think about this. So I want to first... okay, wait. So Jose as a child, not
That's
before
right.
we get to the executive director of
right.
RAPP. So let's go back. I want to talk to Jose as a child before we even get to that. Let Jose, your life as a child before anything. Talk to me.
Okay. Well, I was known. My house name is Thorny.
Okay, so we got another one. I got to write. See,
We
I'm
got
writing.
Thorny, yeah.
See, I always have my paper and pen, so I'm going to write Thorny.
I was born Jose Antonio Saldana. So everybody in my people, my cousins, family still call me Thorny. So that's and I grew up in Spanish Harlem, El Barrio. So in 1951, I was born in 1951. So I spent my childhood in Spanish Harlem.
Love it. All right, so tell me, I know growing up, because you didn't just one day wake up and say, oh, I think I'll go to jail. You didn't wake up one day and say that, right?
Nobody does that.
All right.
Nobody dreams. My childhood dream was actually to be a baseball player.
Wow, I love
Yes,
it.
I know it come a long way. But I grew up in Spanish Harlem, and I went to Catholic school, which was unusual, but somehow, I don't know how my parents managed to send me to Catholic school on 100 on West Side, on 96th Street. I think it's still there. But going to Catholic school was my first experience with colonialism. I know that sounds strange because, see, the nuns there, they were white nuns, and they didn't want to speak in Spanish. They would punish us for speaking Spanish. You had to put your hand out, and they'd take that round, that pointer for the blackboard, and bang, bang, for
So you would
speaking
get a
Spanish.
whack just by
Just for me and my
speaking your
brothers.
language.
So we were forbidden, and we were basically among the few people of color there. You know, we were all my skin color. There was a couple of people there other than that, but we stood out because we was always speaking Spanish. And then some of the white students there would snitch on us, saying we were speaking Spanish on the basketball court. So they come get us, and you know they were brutal. I mean, and these were Christian nuns. So you know, but they were brutal and disciplined us. But that was my first experience with colonialism. I felt like they were taking over my culture, my personality. So I grew up that way, and I would go home, and you know that's the only time I could speak Spanish was in my house or in my neighborhood. But a couple of things happened early in my childhood that would define my future. The first was that I was befriended by what we call today a sex worker. I lived right across the street from a brothel, and this young lady, she was a sex worker. She heard my mother call me Tony, so she called me Tony from her window, second floor. And I'm looking around, who's calling me? That's not my mother's voice. So I seen it was her, and then she just threw down a list and asked me if I could pick this up from the bodega across the street.
How old were you?
I must have been 6, 7 years old.
6 or 7,
Yeah.
just roaming around out there.
I mean, I didn't see
Were you by
Harlem.
yourself when you were walking
Yeah.
about? You
I
out
didn't
there?
see Harlem as dangerous.
Right.
My mom's did, you know, but I just didn't see Harlem as dangerous. You know, I knew that it was different if I went to 3rd Avenue, 2nd Avenue. You know, it was different. You know,
Right.
the poverty wasn't real, but I didn't really, I didn't think about in terms of poverty. I knew we lacked food at times, but I wasn't thinking that concept
Like,
of
are we
poverty.
poor? Like, are we
yeah, well,
poor?
I didn't have that concept. I
Right,
was
you
too
didn't
young
understand.
to really develop that concept. But anyway, I would spend summers, you know, on the stoop just kicking it with her. And I think I was 8 years old when I was out on a errand run, and I came back and there were cops all over the place. And I'm saying, first time I seen that many cops in my block. You
Right.
see them, but not like that. And I went with her bag of groceries, and I seen them dragging her down the stairs. And she was all bloodied up. And I looked at her, you know, I'm a kid.
Right.
I'm not, it's my first time being exposed to this. So I froze. I didn't know what to do.
8 years old. I mean,
They had their guns out telling me to back up against the wall.
at 8.
So, you know, I waited till they left, and I waited a few more minutes, what it seems like minutes, to make sure they're not around anymore. Then I just quietly went up the stairs and pushed the door and just left her groceries there, not knowing if she was ever coming back. She never came back. So last time I saw Maria was her name. And I think that was the defining moment, because the moment I stepped out that building, Harlem was different.
Right.
It wasn't
you saw
safe.
too much.
It wasn't safe.
Right.
I didn't feel safe now. You know, so I grew up with that feeling of being terrified and not being safe. And I think that was a moment what defined the rest of my youth. You know, and the second defining moment in my life was when I became a street corner drug dealer. That's what we all did. I'm a first-generation Puerto Rican. I was hanging out with first-generation Puerto Rican. We didn't identify with the older generation. So we just decided that we're going to be out there trying to dream of becoming big-time dope dealers. I no longer wanted to be a baseball player. That was too distant. And so we just started slinging dope on street corners of Harlem. And one day, my sister was yelling, screaming, Tony, Tony, you know, trying to find out where I was. I said, cops all over the place again. But this time, some people took over the church on 111th Street, Lexington Avenue. And I didn't know who they were. I just knew they were interrupting my little business.
You say your business.
Yeah. But anyway, they turned out to be the Young Lords Party, which was the Puerto Rican version of the Black Panther Party. And they were arrested. They were holed up in that church about 2 weeks. They were arrested. I was glad that they was arrested because now I can go back to slinging dope.
Yeah, you wanted to go back to work.
Yeah, but they gave me, when they came out, the pastor decided to change his mind. He said, no, they didn't take over nothing. I let them come in. So he changed his mind. He let them set up a little headquarters there. And, they started going from door to door. Young Puerto Ricans going from door to door, speaking to the people, listening to the people's concerns, their problems, and really communicating with us. And me and my little homies, we like, yo, man, what's this? We didn't know. But the more we heard them talk, the more they invited us into the church, and we started developing some type of consciousness. I lack an identity. I didn't know what the hell I was. I knew, in my family, we got light-skinned, and then we got people like me, and then we got people a little darker. So I knew I was treated different than the light-skinned in my family. I knew I was treated different. So I started hanging out with the brothers on the west side. But, what these people were talking about was making a little bit of sense, man. And then I got a connection, that next summer, and hanging out in the church and listening to them, I made that decision that I no longer wanted to be a drug dealer.
Wow, amen, amen. My goodness.
And I eventually became a member of the Young Lords Party. Unfortunately, I got arrested with some inoperable pipe bombs. I was experimenting, and some firearms, and I did a 4-year bid. And when I came out, the laws had dismantled.
Wow, so your hope of somebody to get you back on the right track.
But I had the consciousness.
Right.
I had the political consciousness, I had the cultural consciousness, and I had the history. I had a connection to a history, of resistance to colonial oppression. So, so I'm good. Okay, brothers and sisters from the Lords are no longer with us, on an everyday basis, but I had something. And from there, we continue to try to resist. We continue to try to address the police brutality in our communities.
Right.
But I always reflected on that day where I froze.
Right.
And I knew that if I ever was given the opportunity, I wasn't going to freeze.
Right.
That opportunity came in July of 1979.
Walk us through that day.
Well, I had just came back from Ohio. I had a car full of ammunition and weapons. And we was actually we was in the Bronx. We had got into a shootout with some gypsy cab. Accident. He actually bumped into us. He said we bumped into him, but he bumped into us. It was raining. He lost control of the wheel. He bumped into us. So now being, I didn't want no problem with this guy. I know he's just a hard-working cab driver. So I offered him money. Listen, okay, our fault, we take that, but here's some money, man. This will pay you a little dent. He didn't want that. He wanted to call the cops. So that's what he did. So we just left him, and he started following. He got another cab to follow us with him. And so I jumped out the car, and I took some shots at them to stop them from following us. Not to hurt them, to stop them from following us. But then we ran into trouble with the police in Harlem, West Harlem. And they ran up, they jumped out their car, guns blazing. They just didn't expect to return fire. So one sergeant, police patrol sergeant, he got hit in the face with a shotgun. Shotgun blast. One of the brothers in the car with me, he got hit a couple of times. But we got out the car, and he got arrested there because they followed the blood trail. I got arrested a few months later, as a suspect for bank robbery. So that's how I wound up getting 25 years to life behind the cop case. And I went in, did 38, and came back out. During the prison, I taught classes. I taught Puerto Rican history. I taught the history of resistance to colonial oppression. I taught.
Wait, stop right there. So that's a long bid, right? They call that a long bid. And, I remember us talking some time back. And this is the most in detail that we've ever gotten on this show, Hamza. The most, at first, you could see like you would be strained like coming up. This is an interview that I won't forget because you're pretty much, you say, I'm just going to put it all out there today. And just so that we can make a change for the next generation that's going to come about. Because is it all worth it? You get in the car, you're at the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people, and you have to respond. And then look at the bid. You're doing this long bid, a stint, right? I get that right?
Yeah, yeah.
You finished my sentence. Go ahead. Keep going on that part.
During prison, I got together with like-minded people, people who were concerned about the community.
Right.
Not so much concerned about yourself, but you know that whenever you get out of prison, you're going to go back to the same community, the same social, economic, and political conditions that you inherited at birth. Perpetual poverty and everything else associated with it. That's where you're going back. You're not going back to Westchester. So, we have vested interests in what goes on in that community. But we're also upset the injustices that we see. We see the police brutality inside the prison. We see police brutality in our community. Nobody's ever held accountable. So we're dealing with these problems. But then one of our comrades that was a part of the group, he came from a visit, very disturbed, and he told us, I said, what's going on, man? Every day we're meeting. And he said, man, I just came back from a visit and I got a real bad news, man. Somebody in my family was sexually assaulted. So we started thinking about that. And then it turns out that just about all of us in the group had somebody in our family who experienced the same trauma. But nobody talks about it. So we started talking about it. So then we started saying, we're trying to address the conditions in our community. We're trying to address the political climate that we inherited. But this is something else we got to address. The interpersonal violence in our community by our own people.
Right.
So the question revolved, well, what's more important? Is one has great importance than the other? And we decided, no. No, this is personal. So we started developing programs to address this thinking. We call it a colonial mentality that allows us to hurt each other. Or the slave mentality. This is what was driven into us. We inherited this. We inherited hatred for our own. Because we experienced, our ancestors from generation to generation, hundreds of years, experienced hatred for them. So we inherited hatred for our own. And we call that the colonial mentality, the slave mentality. And we got to free ourselves from that. Before we could become leaders in our community, we have to free ourselves from that completely. No half-stepping here. So we focus on programs that will help us confront that, all our character flaws, all our shortcomings, and what drives us to hurt someone else who's weaker than us, especially women, children, men, old women, in our communities. And we don't, some of us say, well, I never heard of a woman, I never heard of her. I said, we sold dope to them. We sold dope in our communities. That's hurting our community. So we try to completely transform, like Comrade George Jackson said, the criminal mentality into a revolutionary mentality. So this is what we produce. I'm a product of this. So when I got out of prison, this is how I came out. We call our RAPP evolved into an abolitionist organization. We didn't start out that way. But for us, the practice of abolition first starts with ourselves. We got to free ourselves from the prisons that we make to stunt our growth.
Before we even get to prison.
before we
We
even
don't
get
have to get
prison.
there.
So that's right.
That's why I wanted to have this conversation.
We don't have to get there. You don't have to do half your life in prison. No, I did more than half of my life in prison. It didn't have to be that way. I mean, but it was meant to be, because I wouldn't be the person I am today if I didn't have that experience.
Right.
But everybody doesn't need to have that experience.
Exactly.
You know, you learn from those, you know, who came before. I learned from those who came before me. No, I listened to those who came before me.
When you were 8 years old, like I always go back to the 8-year-old, the story that you spoke of 8 years old. You never saw her again. So in your mind, you probably just assumed that she expired, she passed away.
At some point,
she was
probably
murdered,
did.
or because from a child's view, you couldn't even fathom what was actually really going on, and it impacted you, you know, and that's why I said, you know, that is one of the one thing that we always talk about, and poverty, not even knowing what poverty really is, but you're smack in the middle of poverty. Now you're making choices, and as you even go back to the day in the car, you know, you try to give him money, but you know, when you're in the middle of something that's bad, it's just bad all the way around you. Nothing good is going to come from that, no matter what. And so what you propose, like, I love what you propose now. And what you propose now is, okay, now, we served this amount of time. Can we, you know, we're getting all this outpour, what's happening in the communities, grandmas being robbed, you know, people being raped, people being beaten, people being shot. And it's younger and younger and younger. We've had this conversation. So now, at this point, RAPP, give me what RAPP stands for. RAPP.
Release aging people in prison.
All right. So now this is an opportunity as you talk about RAPP. Let's talk about the founder of RAPP. Now you are Jose, the adult Jose, the executive director of RAPP. Now I'm talking to the executive director face to face. And now we're talking about, you know, what brought this about for you. And I want to talk about your predecessor. So let's go from there.
Well, Mujahid Fareed, it was his vision that really propelled RAPP to be what it is today. Although it was also founded, like I said, with 2 white women who were members of the Weather Underground. They did time. They did time in prison too. And then a civil rights attorney by the name of Sophia Elijah. But Fareed, a brilliant jailhouse lawyer, brilliant. He could have pursued a career in paralegal, but he was sentenced to 15 years to life in 1978. So he went about doing that 15, because at that 15-year mark, he goes before the parole board. Just like at the 25-year mark, I went before the parole board, but I was denied, kept going. But he got 4 college degrees during that period, 2 master's degrees, which was extraordinary for somebody in prison. But he did something that, to me, has greater value. He got together with doctors and nurses and medical people who were treating AIDS, HIV patients in the community. And he developed a program that will help incarcerated people understand what AIDS is, what HIV is, how to prevent getting the disease, and equally important, how to be able to disseminate this information in terms where your family can understand. So this is a life-saving program that he created. Yet, when he appeared before the parole board, none of it had any value. Parole commissioners didn't want to hear it. They didn't care if he walked on water. They're going to deny him parole for the nature of the crime that he committed in 1978. They denied him for 18 years. At his 10th parole hearing, he was finally released. And it was the injustice that happened to him that he just couldn't, he could not just allow it to continue to happen to people, because people was dying in between parole hearings, trying to wait to that time when they finally released them. So he helped create this organization called Release aging people in prison. Everybody's aging in prison. You're going to get old. You got a life sentence, you're going to get old in prison.
Right.
And the thing is that the elder people who helped me, guided me to becoming the man I am today, they did it without any compensation. They did it without any expectations of a reward. They did it because they had that sense of community, that they wanted people to return back to the community as an asset, not as a liability, not to harm people, but to help others make the same transformation in the community, not in prison.
Before you get to prison.
Before you get to prison.
Maybe you will never go to prison.
Right. Because you don't have to come to prison to become a better human being. You know, you just have to have the opportunity. You have to have the guidance. You have to have the people that you respect. You respect that they're not going to try to use you, that they're going to try to guide you in the right direction and not have you make the same mistakes and pitfalls that we made. So, you know, he created this so that, you know, the elders created programs for us to help each other, and I revised some of these programs to help the younger generation, because sometimes, you know, the younger generation didn't have the same mentality we had.
The Gen Zs.
You know, really. You first of all, you can't tell them nothing.
The Gen Zs, I call, you know, we all call them the Gen Zs.
Until you show them who you really are. You know, I tell a story that really happened. It's a true story. One of my co-defendants, name is Jamal Thomas. He's still in prison. He'll, you know, if we don't pass these bills, he'll probably die in prison. But I'll tell you that he was arrested in August of 1979. And unfortunately, he picked up another case while he was in Rikers Island. But when he was arrested, his girlfriend told me he was jittery that day, that night. He was just looking out the window because it was an August day and it was too quiet. Too quiet, nobody in the streets. So he said, man, something's up. So he took his gun and her, and they hit the roof, trying to jump over roofs, so, you know, because he just felt something. But he didn't know that there were cops everywhere waiting for him. The cops were on the roof, and they got him. They held him and her, and they had him in restraints, hands and feet restrained. And his then girlfriend told me what happened that day in that roof. They was putting half his body over the ledge of the rooftop, threatening him to throw him over off the roof if he didn't tell them where I was hiding. We were both wanted at the time.
And he didn't tell them, did he?
He screamed. She said he screamed on the top of his lungs. Drop me.
But the idea is he didn't disclose where you were.
The idea is that he had developed that type of political and revolutionary consciousness, that he wasn't going to not just betray me, but betray the principles that he upholds. That's what was important to him. And even today, I just visited him a couple of weeks ago, and we're talking about the elder parole bill, because if the elder parole bill passes, you know, he has hope. You know, he has hope. He got 47 years in prison now.
Yeah, that's a long time.
You know,
that's a long
so, you know, but he says, you know, Hamza, you know, it's a possibility. It's a real good possibility that I might die in prison.
Growth, have you seen growth?
Absolutely.
Growth, because that's important, right? He was this person when he was arrested, when he was younger. Where is he now? What can he offer society now? Because that's what you talk about a lot, you know, RAPP. You know, let these guys come out and work with these young people or these midlife, whatever that may be, to get them on track so they don't end up here. Let them, you know, I think about Stanley Bellamy. And I say this because you could call Stanley up. Stanley's in Staten Island, Long Island, Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, because he's out there fighting to help people. When they get out, he's out there with them on a trail seeing what he can do to help them not get back in. You see how maybe there was no RAPP when you got out, how many years back, when it was your first, when you went in for a couple of years. There was no RAPP. the group, that organization that held up in the church, that formed themselves up in the church, was gone. And so there was no rap back then to like, okay, let me take you over here. This is where the food is. This is where the this is. You don't need to do this because we're going to get you this. We're going to help you do this. And then you're going to help people understand not to go. They don't want this. They don't want where you've been. They don't want where you've been, So when I say it like that, what does that mean? Like, because is that part of what you say?
Absolutely. See, I know they got credible messengers and violence interrupters. Those concepts came from us. Mm-hmm. In prison in the 70s. From the 70s, those concepts were being developed in prisons in the 70s. But there's still violence in our communities. We're still hurting each other. We have to address where that comes from. You just can't expect a person to just say, okay, I'm gonna change my lifestyle. I'm gonna change who I am. I ain't gonna be no gangster. No. Person gotta really travel inside, dig deep inside. How did I become this? We weren't born like this. How did I become this? And the social conditions that we inherited, perpetual poverty that we inherited, that played a part. But what part did we play in it? At this point in our lives, can we change? Of course we can. But I believe that we all inherited a history of violence. We're the descendants of the enslaved people. We inherited that. That's in our DNA. And we have to deal with that. And I believe there's healing from that. There is. And the healing, however you put it, spiritual healing, the healing comes from our capacity to resist. We have to resist becoming like them. I say when the slave master whipped the enslaved Africans on the plantation, he scarred them for life. You see pictures of the scars in the back. Women, men, girls, boys, they bear those scars for the slave master's whip. We can't be like them. We got to make up in our consciousness that whatever happens from this point on, I will not be like those people. I will not leave one of our own kind scarred because we're replicating a system that we despise. That's what we're doing. And we got to make a conscious effort every day of our lives not to ever replicate the system that did that to our ancestors for generations to generation for generation. And to me, that is not only healing, but it's liberating. And that brings out the best of our humanity. And it brings out the most courageous among us. Jamal Thomas could have said, okay, I'll tell you, he could have ratted on me. But no, he said, you pigs, drop me. He was willing to die. The men in Attica, who one of my co-defendants was shot 4 times during the Attica Rebellion. He was also shot during the shootout with the cops too. So he's unfortunate, but he's alive. He's still alive right now. Wow. Those men, they refused to accept the brutal, inhumane conditions they were being subjected to in 1971 by mobs of white prison guards. They were willing to die rather than live under those conditions. So and they're in prison. Oh. But prison, they travel through that. Internally, you get to find yourself. You find peace in resisting to this system of oppression and to fighting it and to knowing that you did the very best you can. At your last day, I'm 75 years old now. I'm content with my lifestyle. I'm content that when I take my last breath, my Lord will know that I did the best I can.
Amen. Amen. I thank you so much for sharing so much of your life. At 75, you have totally took a total turn in your life before 75, just before being released and knowing that, let's talk about your predecessor one more time. Just say the name. Say the name.
Mujahid Fareed is the person who propelled rap, and the 2 white women who had they were born not in wealth, but they were born well off. but they decided to support the black liberation struggle. That was their choice. And they're committed still. There's only one left. Kathy Boudin passed away a few years ago, and let me just tell you a short story about this white woman. She was one of the founders of the Weather Underground, and she did time. She did 23 years or so in Bedford Hills, but she died of cancer a few years ago. But till her last breath, and I was there, when I came to see her, she was all bones. The cancer was just eating her up. But when she seen me, her eyes lit up. She couldn't talk. She couldn't even move.
Wow.
And all she did was she raised her fist up, her little white fist. She raised it up as far as she can and boiled it. Like that was her last act of resistance to her last breath. And this is who we are.
So you have this fight. Tell me more about the fight, because, as I said, RAPP is all over the place. If you don't know, RAPP is all over the place. They're helping with anything they can help within the community, and that's important about what you do. You're making sure that you're letting these young people know you do not want this. This is not even have to be a choice. And I think speaking out and all over the place and making sure people get out, you have something in place to help them so they don't go right back, so they can help other people, right, that's on their way to their same situation. Where are you right now?
We advocate for legislation that will get the elders out, because those are the ones who helped me, helped countless others, helped Jamel. Those are the ones who put us on the right track. And they deserve to be out here. They deserve to spend their last days in community, not die in a prison cell. But we advocate for a fair and timely parole bill, which will allow everybody that has a parole-eligible sentence, 15 to life, 25 years to life, to get out as soon as possible. At that 15 or 25-year mark, that minimum that the court set, to get out and not have the parole board deny them for the nature of the crime, which will never change. Otherwise, you die in prison if they can keep doing that, and they do. And the elder parole bill, which would actually, if you have 100 years, if you have life without parole, you would at least get the opportunity to appear before a parole board when you turn 55 and serve 15 years. We believe that the sentences that we get as people are racially disproportionate. We get more time than white people. That's just a fact. The racial disparity is stark. Everybody could see it. All kinds of studies and reports been done that we get more time than anybody else. And then the parole board denies us more than anybody else. So to correct this racial disparity in sentencing and in the release process, that fair and timely and the elder parole bill doesn't matter. We don't believe that people should die in prison. I don't care what you did. We believe in redemption. A lot of people say, what about this case and this case? I said, listen, every case is different. But overall, mass incarceration is real. Our communities were targeted, and then we received harsher sentences. And there was no discrimination. They didn't care whether you was guilty or not. Mass incarceration impacted tens and thousands of families. So we don't exclude anybody. They didn't exclude us. They gave it to all of us. We do not exclude anybody, because just like the civil rights movement didn't exclude people, the voting rights movement didn't exclude people, we believe that the criminal justice system in New York, across the country, is an unjust system. It's based on the legacy of slavery. From policing in our communities, the police violence in our communities, 10-year-old kids are not murdered by police in white communities. 69-year-old grandmothers are not murdered by police in other communities. In the black community, they are. In prison, white people are not beaten to death like black people are. 38 years, I've never seen a white person get beaten to death by guards. I've seen it by...
So you have a lot of work to do. So now tell me, you're in Albany often. And tell us the bill one more time.
Van-Tiny parole bill, which passed, for those who don't know, for a bill to become law, it has to pass through committees. Both bills, Van-Tiny and elder parole bill, passed through the Crimes Committee. That's the first committee. We're hoping that they will go to the second committee and pass. It's up to the leadership in New York State to put these bills on the agenda, put it on the floor, so the entire Senate, the entire Assembly could vote for the bill. We're very close. We're closer than we've ever been. I believe that these bills will one day become law, and that more people who deserve to be in our communities, who need it in our communities, will be out there. We'll have an army of credible messengers in our community. And let me tell you something, they did it for free inside. They're willing to do it for free out here because they have a vested interest and they have that moral obligation that they did harm in the community. Now they have a moral obligation to repair harm.
Okay. Say that one more time.
They did harm in our communities. Now they have they embrace a moral obligation to help repair that harm. It's their responsibility, and they will fulfill that responsibility.
I love it. And how do you get that? Because you get a lot of folks coming out to the rallies. I mean, it's unheard of the numbers that you all get. They come out, you have grandmothers, you have, what kind of people come out? You have everybody that come out.
We have a little bit of everybody. You know, people are basically, they believe in justice. You know, once you explain to people, you know, some people have been harmed. We know that. A mother lost a child to gun violence. You know, she don't want to hear nothing at first. But when you start talking to her over time, she understands that there's another mother grieving because her son is in jail for murder, serving 25 years to life. So there's two mothers grieving now. So they got commonality. And the system doesn't help either one.
Right. Tell me the name of the bill.
Van-Tiny parole bill and the elder parole bill.
And we expect folks to come out and work with this community to help this community.
Anybody can connect with us. Our website is rappcampaign.com. That's RAPP campaign.com. We have a list of upcoming events. We have past events. We have how you can get involved. And there's a place for everybody to get involved in our campaign.
I love it. And also lectures. You are like lecturing all over the place. So I'm kind of lucky to get them here today. Mm-hmm. But you tell these stories and you talk about your past, your life, moving forward and what people are able to do. Because you had to be in that place, experience everything you experienced through your childhood, you know, being in prison all these years to say, look, we got together and we decided that we could do so much more if we're outside of these walls to repair the damage of what we did before we ever got here.
Not only can we make our communities better, but the leadership, those elected officials in our community who aren't really representing us, who aren't representing our concerns and interests to the best of their ability, we have the power to replace them. In fact, some of these young people that's out here right now, I'll tell you, you deserve to be in them seats.
Well, I mean, I am a listener. Mm-hmm. You guys are listening, and you guys tell us what you think. And, you know, you can always email me. Go to crossovershowcase@gmail.com. I mean, at this point, we want this community to evolve. We want changes to come, right? So we have to do this together, right? Mm-hmm. So you have so many people that you know are willing to put themselves on the front line, almost in front of a bullet when they get out here. Because you ain't gonna scare me. I done too much to be scared. But some of us out here that's supposed to do it, we're kind of frightened. And, you know, we're frightened to say, we don't want to say nothing, you know. Remember the Guardian Angels? You know, there were other organizations. There were different people. I mean, come on, aren't we like a little more afraid, like to say when somebody's being pushed or targeted? I remember one day, and I'm a little bit different than most people, you know, in this day and age, and I think that's just because I got God in my life. And I don't fear, I mean, I only fear God, you know. That's when I tremble. But a young lady was being targeted by a man. And like she just kept walking really fast. And for some reason, he looked back at me because he saw me maybe like glance at what was happening. Like, and he was like, Miss, I'm not doing nothing. I'm looking at like, well, if you're not doing nothing, then why are you looking at me and worried about what my phone is doing? So, you know, my thought is that people now think they can do whatever they want to people and no one's going to say anything. And that's really what's happening. The crimes are going on in broad daylight. They're not even at night anymore. You know, I live on a block where a young woman was raped and killed right on the block, you know. And I think, you know, I don't really fear as much, like I said, because I fear God. And I only feel that's when I tremble. And I think, you know, we have a lot of things to do. We have to figure this out. And it's something better that we can be experiencing out here. And let's work with other organizations. Let's at least listen to what they have to say. And I am so glad and blessed that we were able to listen to your story today. And we want to talk about your bill. We want to have you back up. Normally I'm joined with some of your comrades and they're not here today. Janine and Jamil, right? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we want to shout them out. You want to say anything?
Well, Jeannie got her plate full. You know, she's really busy. Jamel got his plate full. You know, we're all over.
But we want to shout them out for the work.
Yeah.
We want to shout them out for the work.
Jamel was sentenced to 62 and a half years to life. He came out on clemency. Unusual.
How many years knocked off his sentence coming out?
Well, 62. He had 62. Did 37. So you do the math.
All right.
You know, he would have died in prison had he not gotten clemency. But see, a lot of people thought that he would never get out of prison. But we got the attorney for him, you know, because he's one of my comrades from inside. One thing I'm not going, just like my comrades didn't turn on me, I'm not going to turn on my comrades. I'm going to help everybody that I cross paths with that I can. I can't help everybody.
Right.
You know, but we know we look out for each other. We're family.
But I can tell you, the reason I talk about Jamil, because Jamil's been to the hip hop church.
Right.
Jamil will follow anywhere to anything to help anyone. He will, when people come out of jail, he's on point. He's taking them here, taking them there. So I mean, he could have just said, because right now he's done. He's done right now. He don't have to do nothing. But he's working. He is on the grounds, boots on the grounds, working to help people. And that's why, before we end today, I just want to say that. That is what you're talking about. And that is what I experience from Jamil in the community. He is doing the work in the community. He could say, I don't care. And I'm just going to lay down and chill. And he does not. You can't, every time you call him, he's somewhere helping someone that he needs to be helping. Very humble, and that's a blessing.
You know, we're older. We're going to pass this torch.
Right.
You know, some of you out there might be taking this torch.
You've been said. Let me tell you something. He been said. I'm gonna tell y'all right now. He been said it, but he's still working hard, and we'll see. But anyway, I'm just saying, just like that, he's got some work to do still. I believe it. And I just want to say, I want to thank you once again for joining me. Please, before we leave, and I'm going to tell you guys, we have a couple of things coming up. I want to can I do this first?
Go ahead.
Before we go, guys, I just want to remind you guys that we have coming up, I am, yes, Women of Courage. I'm one of the Women of Courage. Thank you for the opportunity, Bishop Burkett, Bishop Laurel. I call her Bishop. I gave her Bishop. It's Pastor, you know, but I gave her Bishop. We're going to be at Eastwood Manor. I'm going to be both places on June 6th. So I'll start out early with Eastwood Manor. And that's going to be the big Women of Courage mission. They do the Yankee food drive. They do the Yankee food drive every year, and they feed so many on a weekly basis. And so this is all about their mission. So you can come, make a donation. Just give me a, you can also email me, crossovershowcase@gmail.com. But the phone number is 347-271-7552, everybody. And they'll be giving away some Yankee tickets via raffle. Reminding you of Shawrock Day, that's going down June 6th at the Gun Hill Playgrounds, 12 to 7, everybody. So don't forget, everybody. And we have one more. I'm still looking for the date. What is the date? Everybody, help me out. All right, I don't see it either. So, I think I have one. Okay, all right. All right, so you can give me a contact. It's 347-366-7238. Wow, that's never ever happened before. All right, he's an amazing person. He is receiving an award at Eastwood Manor at the banquet. So Church Alive, I love you guys, and it's a blessing. Now we're gonna close out. Let's close out. I want to give you the last 60 seconds of the program. Close me out.
All right. I just want everybody out there, if you have an incarcerated loved one, reach out to RAPP, RAPPcampaign.com. Reach out to us. Families are what make this movement success. We have families that have no hope, had no hope until they came to RAPP, and we was able to get their loved one out. We can't get everybody out.
Right.
But at least your loved one has somebody fighting for them. And we will fight. We will not give up. We will not betray them. We will not leave them behind. We will fight until all our family members are out here in our community helping repair harm.
That is a blessing. And let's give the bill one more time before we get out of here.
Fair and timely parole bill.
Yes.
And elder parole bill. You can log in to rappcampaign.com. That's RAPPcampaign.com. Any information you need, you'll find there.
And I just want to say this. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for all the work that you all are doing. And the only reason I know this because I see them on the ground, boots on the ground everywhere, and I see you giving back to the community. When we call you to do tedious things that other people in the community are scared to do, you guys are willing to do it. Mm-hmm. So I want to thank you so much. We're going to do a Father's Day event for my food drive, and I'm going to have RAPP come out. I'm going to have Dr. Thomas Ryer come out, and we are going to pray for a pledge for our young dads to do more and more and more, and the best that they can. Just be at our best. Let's just be at our best. I want to say thank you so much for joining me. Yours truly, Kendra, Crossover TV, and we're just going to do our best. Continue to do your best. All right, everybody? No judgment. Do your best. You know, that's what it's all about. So lock your doors, everybody. We will see you next week.
Brutality. We don't care about the firing of one or two. We want to dismantle this system of brutality.
Amen.
So now, to the people that are not showing up, we got to let them know. If you don't think that's your fight, if you don't think that's your mother's, daughters, and sisters and cousins in there, if you are not concerned about that, then get the out of the way.
Okay.
Leave. Power to the people. Power to the people.